What's up, guys? This is the Future Talk podcast. My name is Dustin.
And I'm Coconut.
My name's Edwin.
And today we kind of got a pretty good topic to discuss for you guys today.
I don't know. I guess I got it right.
This was his idea.
Oh, yeah, of course. So, I want to talk about the reality of colonizing Mars.
Possible reality.
Oh, possible reality, yeah. Who wants to start off? Any points?
Okay, so we can really go into, I guess, the biggest proponent of this. So, Elon Musk, right?
Of course.
You know, owner of companies such as, former owner of PayPal, current owner of Tesla, SpaceX, et cetera.
Yeah.
And, this guy, by the year 2024, he is currently planning some trip or some journey to...
an expedition.
An expedition to reach Mars. And,
We've never been to Mars, right? Just to be clear?
No. Oh, technically, yes and no. Humans have never been to Mars.
Yep. Okay. That's what I meant.
Yeah, we have the rover.
We've never set foot.
Curiosity.
Oh, yeah.
Strong boy.
Alright, so when actually analyzing the situation, it becomes kind of interesting. How we're actually going to maintain life there. If we just plan to live life in domes, or if we try to actually evolve the planet in a sense to actually fit our needs.
So we're going to start off with domes, and then what's the term for it? We're going to...
what's it called?
It's like terrestrialize or something?
Terraform.
Terraform. There we go.
You guys know what was initially Elon Musk's plan, right? I'm not sure if it still is, but I heard of it.
No.
What is the plan?
His plan was to nuke the actual polar capsule of Mars. That way it can set up a chain reaction, etc., to add heat and eventually build up an atmosphere suitable for Earth.
I'm curious on how that would work.
Yeah, what's the actual...
I wish I did more research on it. However, I did not. But what do you guys think of that possibility if it were to happen?
He should record it and live stream it.
Yeah, I think that'll probably be the most viewed clip of all time.
Nuking a planet.
Have you guys seen The Martian?
Oh, yes.
With Matt Damon?
Amazing.
Yeah, so this guy, he's living on Mars in one of these domes, pretty much. And, he's just pretty much just growing potatoes. Yeah. And that's how he's really just sustaining his means of life out there. And
I think you actually...
up there?
You actually live off of nothing but potatoes and butter, I believe, for food-wise.
Yeah, that's true. Potatoes are just very high in starch.
Thighs.
Yeah. Not very many, nutrients, but...
All I see is an absolute win.
You just memed. Okay, I get.
Okay, yeah.
I appreciate that.
When it comes to like getting to Mars, I'm not really sure on the timeline of how that would work, really, because especially now when we're still having issues, even just launching satellites and launching these rockets from SpaceX there's obviously like great, tremendous progress in this, but
of course,
sending actual people up there is something that's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, there's two things I want to go off of. So one good thing, one positive note, one negative note. I guess I'll go off the positive note first. So first thing is
always the negative first.
You want to go off negative first?
Yes.
Oh, that's really anticlimactic, but alright. So I guess the negative thing is, honestly, the possibility that humans might not be able to actually sustain that type of distance in time and space off of what happened.
What do you mean?
You're talking like we won't survive the actual trip?
No, not necessarily. The actual effects of low gravity on human body. Like with the astronaut, I think that's not fucking Mike Scott. His last name's Scott. Yeah, remember they're twins, two bald guys. I believe what actually happened was one of them stayed down here for mission control, and the other one actually stayed out there on the International Space Station, and he actually holds the record for longest time in space.
How long?
I think like over a year, or at least a year. A year in space, yeah. However, apparently he's basically a guinea pig in that situation, because that was basically to see how the human body can or how it would react to being in low orbit for such a long period of time. And now after coming back, there's many things off, I believe. Like I forgot.
Oh yeah, definitely. When it comes to like people living in like an environment with lower gravity, you can see even just like from people who are living like in the former ISS, you can see them having to work out all the time, having to.
Doesn't it affect their digestive tract?
Yeah, it affects like a lot of like human processes and like metabolic processes. So like the main one that is the biggest problem is that it because gravity really helps with maintaining blood flow and having a constant supply of like oxygen to all parts of your body. You start to see muscle atrophy kick in, and you start to see bone density start to decrease, and that's pretty problematic. And it can cause a lot of other issues that I'm not sure if they have been extensively studied, but yeah.
All right. So when it comes to gravity wise, what is your opinion on the actual idea of that type of a spinning cylinder in space? Like, I think at the moment that's our best method for synthesizing gravity.
Yeah. So I'm guessing what you mean is like using like a centrifugal force in order to keep people. I've definitely I've heard about this. And I have, because it can kind of be simulated by if you look at like when you swing a bucket of water around, and how if you're swinging it fast enough, none of the water will leave the bucket. I'm not really sure how entirely that'll work. I mean, it kind of works on Earth, right? I mean, the Earth is like constantly spinning in like at a very fast rate, and I mean.
Yeah. So theoretically, this would just be a miniaturized version of that.
Yeah. I'm not sure how big it would have to be, because I'm pretty sure something like that would take a lot of energy to have sustained. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can probably rely on something along the lines of solar forces.
Also, imagine the repercussions, of a malfunction. Like, imagine something going that fast with life in it, and then it just stopping or slowing down. That
could be deadly.
Yeah, it would have to literally run perfect the entire way from Earth to Mars.
So in that case, it'd probably be a prototype if they ever actually get around to actually making that without any actual human beings on it.
Wait. Okay, so when you propose this spinning some mechanism, you're talking about having that on the journey towards Mars, or
Well, essentially, in both planes, one for travel and one for permanent residence. Because at the moment, I want to believe in the theory of like light speed and stuff like that. Like us traveling at that speed. That's what I'm trying to say. However, at the moment, it doesn't seem very feasible. So, in all honesty, if we ever try to actually leave our solar system, we are probably not going to be the ones to actually see it. It's probably going to be some type of situation where families sign up, whatever, and it's the descendants of those families who actually see it. It's like a prolonged journey.
Yeah. For one though, like when it comes to having some type of gravitational force within space, I'm pretty sure there are already methods of keeping that intact. I'm not sure what exactly, but I know that, I mean, if you are familiar with any like stations out in just in orbit around the Earth, that they already have like systems in which to keep people, on the floor and not just floating around. I'm not really sure in terms of long-term travel, especially in like some type of ship like that. But yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from. I think another issue too is that when you're up there has to be a good good sustainability of food, and you have to have a good system of working out, and without those two, that can cause very serious problems.
Yeah, in a sense, that kind of force a micro-government on these ships.
That is also true, because there are a lot of like stipulations when it comes to like space travel. If you think about having children in space on the travel, there's a rule that you are not allowed to have sex in space, because just in case. Well, I'm not sure.
Show my coconut.
Yeah.
Oh, but some context clues. One of us, I'm not gonna point out
the
who.
one named Coconut.
His name is not Coconut, but yes,
my name is Coconut.
He's referring to himself currently as Coconut. has a coconut on his head.
Yeah. It's for his protection.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
It protects my virginity.
It's doing a good job.
Damn.
I'm joking. I'm sorry.
Touch me.
Okay. So, alright, back on topic. So, you're going off of, children in space.
Sex in space.
Yeah, sex in space, because something like that can cause a lot of issues.
Mile High Club, yeah.
Yeah, honestly. Having to take care of, like, some type of child up in there, would definitely require a lot more resources.
Especially since how troublesome children are. Mm-hmm. They like to touch everything, get into everything. They basically have to be contained and isolated.
And when it comes to just rules that are regulated within the spacecraft, I'm not really sure on how this entirely would work. Because humans aren't perfect, and then emotions get the best of people, and then something serious can happen, and then one thing leads to another, and you see a lot of bad things just happen in return. So there definitely does have to be some type of constant communication with probably some international space forces, I guess. So, and
you believe that there should be? I think actually Trump, believe it or not, actually made a space force or something.
Yeah,
like government.
I think Trump is actually really stupid. I don't see any benefit in instituting a space force.
What is the space force that he wants to institutionalize?
To protect from space invaders, basically. And when I say space invaders, I don't mean like aliens. I mean like other foreign not
So let's say if somebody tries to attack our satellites, is that a good instance?
Yeah.
Okay.
But why is that a bad idea?
Because it's just a complete waste of money, and that's not an issue.
I guess. Alright, I want to steer away from this topic. Alright.
Okay.
That can get pretty heated.
Yeah, okay. So, I want to get on two things. First thing is actually getting this behemoth of a micro ecosystem into space. What do you guys think about that?
Carries a lot of risks.
Extreme amount of risk. Good news is, at least like with SpaceX, I think they could, I don't know, like.
But that's why we start small. We don't start with the behemoth.
I know, but the thing is, for so long,
when you say start,
anything.
And when you say start small, like, is there even a way to really start small? Because you have to be able to carry all this fuel. You have to carry all this water, all this food. I know there are ways to preserve, water when it comes to like fecal recycling, etc. But still, something like that will be able to carry which will probably be about a 4-year expedition.
At least.
Yeah, at least. That is kind of crazy. I mean, there are other ways to like grow food within, and I know that's already happening on like certain space stations, but I'm not sure if it would be able to, in terms of size, have a smaller spacecraft, and that's just like in relation to like current spacecrafts.
Well, what do you guys think of the idea of sending out a bunch of pieces, like, and then composing it inside or in space?
What do you mean?
So saying like I think that's actually how the International Space Station did it. I'm not positive. So let's say you make general areas and then you actually upload them into space, and then you construct them inside space, so it's less of a burden trying to get it all together. So it's kind of like if you try to bring a piano inside a house.
You take it apart first, and then yeah, I see what you mean. I would really have to just hear out more on that, to be honest, because like, how would it just be like they would assemble it in orbit, or would they do it further out into the solar system, or?
Honestly, probably a little bit further out. Probably maybe like.
I really doubt they could pull that off in orbit.
Yeah,
because the reason is because it's gonna fucking de-align it probably.
Especially with a bunch of space debris that we have out there.
Yeah. So,
yeah, that's a topic that I wanted to bring up because like. You say that there are all these advancements and like we're revolutionizing space travel and all that, like, well, not revolutionizing, but like tackling this new frontier, but we're actually screwing ourselves with all of that. Like, you watch Kyrgyzstan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see his video on the whole space debris and how we're gonna trap ourselves eventually? Like, I feel like that's a very real possibility, and I don't know what we're doing about that, if anything.
When it comes to space debris, I see that there are issues right in it. I think right as of now, it is not an entirely big deal because
but over time.
Yeah, kind of like a plastic in ocean.
Yeah, that's a pretty good metaphor for that.
Like, look at global warming. A couple of years ago, we never mentioned it.
Yeah,
no, that's not true. That is definitely not true.
When did we first mention it?
I get what you're saying.
When did we first make a big deal about it?
Probably 80s, whenever.
Yeah, that's not too long ago.
Well, that's like really when it started getting like mainstream within.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been an issue really since probably the start of the
But
Industrial
imagine
Revolution.
the scope of this project that we're talking about. Imagine how many years down the line that this is gonna take. And you said 80s. It's only been about 40 years. So I'm pretty sure that will be a problem within the time frame that we want to complete this project.
I don't know if I definitely think that it would contribute to the problem, but I'm not sure on how much serious it would make it as of like right now.
I just see it as an issue, but I feel like it can be solved though. And it's not necessarily an issue that we have to solve right now, but I think it'd be smart to be proactive. I think it'll become as soon as it becomes profitable, that's whenever we'll really address the issue or that issue.
Mm-hmm.
Say like in the far future, hopefully. Let's say where space travel is a lot more affordable and it's a lot more commonplace. So there could be teams that go up there, kind of like garbage men, essentially, on Earth. That go up there to like scrap all that metal and whatnot and try to turn that for profit. I can see that happening.
But how do we get the metal when it's traveling at the speeds that it's traveling?
We could have initial, I guess, collision. That makes it very, very unstable. I understand that. But like kind of just slow it down.
So when you say collision, that's kind of like how a lot of this space debris issue is being like perpetuated by.
Yeah.
Because the more that these objects in space in orbit collide with each other, they just make smaller.
Yeah, we would have to develop a material that can take that kind of collision and not shatter.
And it would have to pretty much just like it's like a space sweeper. Tungsten, I would say no.
How so?
Because tungsten is a very heavy metal. I'm not really sure how it would. I'm not really sure in terms of brainstorming the type of mechanism we would need. I mean, I would assume that it would have to be something that is very light, something that is probably very thin, probably very strong. If I had to like throw out some ideas into what material could be used, I'll probably say something along the lines of some type of carbon nanotube, or maybe graphene, because that's getting pretty popular in terms of tensile strength and.
I'm just brainstorming ideas. What if we launched like kind of we had like a little shuttle or the one, what was it? It's not the shuttle. It's whatever was on the moon, the lander, moon lander.
Rover?
No, I'm talking about the moon lander. Mm-hmm. So something along those lines, like something fairly small, but on the inside, or it doesn't have to be probably a lot larger, but that's what I mean, just like not very big in space. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
That can kind of bring out like an umbrella. So like if somebody was running out with a parachute, for instance, could we release like a net of sorts with this stuff?
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of trying to get at with the idea of the carbon nanotube, because
I don't think it'd have to be a net. It would probably be more like a tarp.
Yeah, and
because some of the particles, no matter how small, if they're traveling at that kind of speed, it's still gonna do quite a bit of damage. Like, it doesn't matter if it's small. If it fits through the holes in the net, then the net's not gonna do much help.
Okay.
Because if you look at the actual structure of like carbon nanotube, it's kind of like a large majority of it is just empty space, and the way that these actual large scale like structures of this are generated is because the carbon aligned itself in like a hexagonal shape, so it's similar to a net, although the holes are like microscopically small, so I can kind of see that working as some type of like.
So it'd be more like a parachute type thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that situation can be minimalized if you exposed to them, I guess. I know that's really dumb thought process, but like, so say you have one that has the possibility to release 1%, 0.1% of the debris. If you cover that up with a second one of the chances of it decrease significantly. So like a reinforced one, or it's not like reinforced, but just one behind it.
Like wearing a condom on top of a condom.
Exactly. I know it's retarded, but what do you guys think of that?
You ever think about cost?
Oh yeah.
It would literally double the cost per net. So
kind of like what they're doing in the ocean right now. They're kind of just sweeping everything up in these huge nets.
The non-profit.
Yeah.
Ocean something.
I'm not really sure on the name of it.
I'll figure it out what you're talking.
But yeah, and these things cost a lot of money, and then I'm pretty sure it already happened, but there was a malfunction which which pretty much destroyed the net, and they had to like pretty much just rebuild it over again, and something like that is something like that is just very very hard to keep up with.
I feel like, yes, it's going to be a very difficult issue. However, it's one that is going to be mandatory if we do want to consider ourselves not dying on Earth. Especially because if we live on Earth for so long, eventually we're going to eventually run out of room. I'm not saying we're even close to that, honestly.
Oh, I would disagree. I think we are very close to that.
Fossil fuels or like the entire thing?
Yeah, I mean, fossil fuels are probably the biggest cause of it, though. But yeah.
Wait, what do you mean? What are we running out of?
We're just destroying our planet.
I'm talking about just space.
So we're gonna have to leave eventually, or stop something, which doesn't seem like it's gonna happen anytime soon, which it needs to.
Yeah, like it's two battles: one to preserve and one to expand. It's like, I think one thing Elon Musk actually said was, if the moment we make humans multiplanetary, human species multiplanetary, the chances of our extinction decrease dramatically. Like, imagine it wouldn't be as difficult to think of humans actually going extinct over just one event. So like, say the dinosaurs, if like there's a meteorite, it could technically wipe out Earth, or let's say with what's going to happen with the sun and Earth, I was going to eventually
be engulfed.
Yeah. So eventually, that already puts a timestamp on human beings if we can't figure out how to move. Obviously, that's a long time from now. But
when it comes to the sun anecdote, I think that's a little bit more like outlandish, because we have millions of years before that's going to happen. We're probably going to become extinct by that time.
It would just make a point that it's going to happen.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. But when you have like an issue such as like global warming or not global climate change,
something that's more pressing right now.
Yeah, something like these issues are. I would assume that they would expedite the process of exploration of other planets and colonization outside of Earth.
I do agree with that. The Earth should probably come first before we try to expand. However, in the possibility that we are not capable we as a society have come to the point where we're not willing to unite to actually come together and actually fix these issues. In that doomsday scenario, I think it's good to at least prepare and make some paths towards it. Because I believe that Stephen Hawking gave us about like 100, 200 more years before we all perish.
Oh yeah, I definitely do think that's a very realistic timeline right there. When it comes to the actual threat of these issues that are coming about, I kind of think we're a little bit too late when it comes to space travel, because while I do think that these issues are going to advance very quickly, I think that alongside that, at even faster rate, our issues are going to become even more drastic.
I just see that. Honestly, it's kind of nihilist, I believe. Is that the word for it? Kind of
nihilist. Nihilism?
What's the word? What is the definition of that?
Nihilism?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nihilism it's a form of philosophy in which you believe that life is meaningless.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of like nihilistic thoughts when you think of the situations at the moment. I don't know. That's one of the reasons I'm very.
We could also be optimistically nihilistic.
Yeah, that is a thing, but that's what most people are, who are just, I guess, cognizant of what's actually going on.
Yeah, like you accept the fact that you don't matter, but you also make the most of your time existing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty big part of philosophy, but I don't know if we can get into that in this episode.
Yeah, no, we're talking Mars
it's a topic
here.
for another day. All right. So I guess dipping it out of this pool a little bit. I want to jump it, actually. Let's say everything goes well, everything goes splendid, a perfect society, etc., etc., alright? We get to Mars. Everybody's there. Alright? Woohoo, yeah! Okay, I'm by myself on this one. Okay, so yes, let's say everything goes to plan. And we get there by 2025. How about that? I know it's 2024. Get a year for
late! I like being punctual.
Alright, you get to Mars by then. Alright, so anyways, so I say all that goes as planned. So, what type of government will we have on Mars?
Fascism.
Just
fascism?
Of course not.
Okay.
Oh, I took you seriously for a second.
The tone you put on.
Yeah, that was pretty declarative right there.
Okay. No, honestly, I honestly for space exploration, I honestly think, believe it or not, I hate this. We might have to go more towards
socialism.
Yeah, socialism and communism side, because at that point it's gonna be more of a point of like survival than anything else.
I kind of agree. In the early stages, I think that it would have to be more towards a direct...
Capitalism is not gonna survive up there.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with that, because there's obviously gonna be capitalism relies on a free market, but when it comes to space, I think that we could talk about. Okay, so are we talking about like a political system or economic system?
Political.
So when it comes to political system, I would definitely say that a direct democracy would probably be the most efficient way to run everything up there. Yeah, a direct democracy. So
explain your sense of direct democracy.
So direct democracy is that the individuals have the extent of every single law and policy that is put into place.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, because of the small population size up there.
Yeah. So like comparative to like our representative democracy that we have today, direct democracy would work more efficiently because of how Erik was saying, the very small.
The only reason we don't have a direct democracy in our country right now is because there's over 300 million of us.
Yep.
I feel like in the future that could be automated though, especially.
And we're already corrupt as it is, so
What's
imagine.
Automated?
No, I mean like it's easier process. I'm trying to say essentially.
What is voting?
Yeah, and stuff like that.
I definitely do agree. I think.
Yeah, but it's corruption, dude. Like,
I
imagine all the cheaters. What do you call it?
What?
What?
Explain.
When you fake votes, is there a term for that, or am I just making it up?
Voter fraud.
Voter fraud. There you go.
All right. I do see that. That's why I think it's have to be extremely disciplined in space. Like I feel like.
I mean, the only people going up
laws.
there are the disciplined, are the qualified, are the people that we choose.
Or not necessarily we choose. Someone has to decide, but it's like you have to be extremely reputable. You have to have like no crime history or anything like that. In my opinion, at the beginning stages at least.
Keep going.
Because I feel like. When it comes to space, there's so little room for error that we have to be as precautious as possible in that situation. Continue.
Oh yeah, I definitely do agree when it comes to political views of people who are living in like some different type of planet. For one, there's not really a lot of political discourse that is really even allowed up there, I would say. I mean, besides from actual like. Having the correct information that you need to make an informed decision, which I think that if you're living up there, you have to be informed of what's going on, because if you're not, then you're pretty much just dead, because there's, as you were saying, there's very little room for error. I think there are not nearly as many issues. Well, not nearly as many cultural and economic issues as there are more as a battle with the environment, a battle with the actual, just actually surviving. There's no I would say the population would probably be more homogenous in terms of like racial tension. So there's going to be a lack of diversity, or when I say lack of diversity, I mean that there's going to be a equal representation of diversity. So there will not be any actual like distinct groups that would cause any inherent like bias and
everyone up there that we send is going to be psychologically qualified.
Yeah, right. and even when it comes to like reproduction up there, eventually, especially with a small population, that population will get very homogenous over time, and then there's not really going to be any issue on different races, etc., etc.
So I have I want to challenge.
Do you disagree?
What?
No, I make faces.
Oh, okay. So, all right, I want to challenge two things.
Okay.
First of all, what do you think of a non-face political system?
What do you mean?
Let's say a political system, still straight democracy. Okay. Everything is straight voted for. However,
no graphics.
No, I mean like no poster boy, no head.
Yeah,
nothing to look at. That's direct democracy.
Yeah. So there's no leader, anything. There just be qualified volunteers for every position. That's what kind of goes with the communist like mentality in that situation.
That's a little bit different from a communist mentality.
Yeah.
Socialist. That's definitely more of a representative democracy.
Okay.
If you have qualified people who are being voted on. In order to like run these positions, that's more of a representative democracy.
Yeah. So essentially, that's what I'm talking about. And opinions are all made by the people. If you guys want to give a take on that type of democracy, and space, how that would be affected in space.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that it would work to a certain extent. I think if we were at a point to where we would be able to successfully colonize a place like Mars, I think that we would be technologically advanced enough to have a lot of simple processes automated, such as the production of food, the production of drinkable water.
Of course.
And this would really just
or
automate
the reproduction more
like it. Yeah, I would also say that as well. And so when it comes to this automation, there's really going to be a lack of people having, having these type of jobs, right? Mm-hmm. And with that, I think that when it comes to having a more automated, almost entirely automated system in which everything for you is already produced, okay. I think that would definitely push to a more socialist and more. I don't want to say communist because communist wouldn't mean that. I mean, I guess in theory it would be communism because the people there would all own the means of production, and the means of production would just be would be these machines that were automating everything. So I think that definitely it would be more of a socialistic democratic system, if not communism.
I feel more socialist democratic. I feel one thing just subliminal about that. I feel like in that case, people are actually gonna have to really like step up their education of theirs would have to be insanely good.
I agree.
To think about it, because if all these manual labor jobs are gonna be fully automated, it means the only jobs available or that will be offered are mental. What's the word for it?
More high skilled jobs.
Exactly, more high skilled jobs. So that's something to picture.
I don't know about changing the education system. I'm pretty sure when the people
system up there already.
Yeah. The people that are gonna be up there in the first place, they're gonna be in the correct mindset. Everyone's gonna have the same goal. We're all trying to do the same thing, and we all have like we all agree on what we're trying to do, or what they're trying to do up there.
Well, what about the children, though?
Yeah, the children are gonna have those role models, and I'm pretty sure the biggest reason, the system down here on Earth doesn't work is because lack of motivation, lack of purpose. And up there, they have that. They have purpose. They have motivation. And with that, it doesn't matter who, unless they're just really, really mentally impaired.
Yeah.
I think anybody can make it up there.
I feel like, believe it or not, I feel like children will be very influential, I'd say 200-300 years from now on Mars. In a sense that, let me bring up this issue. So, who will be the land of Mars? Will the
land?
Yes. Will the private sector colonize? Will countries colonize? Will this be its own, planet, like for its own self? Will it be fully independent? That's what I'm trying to say.
You're saying independent of the Earth?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
You're saying whose rules are going to apply?
Yeah, because I can see many different countries start space programs to just get there, trying to, like with the situation in Africa.
Well, if many different countries start their many different space programs, then we're all going to, like when things happen like that, we all agree or try to agree in the UN.
Exactly.
So we're obviously it's going to go there first, right?
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
What do you think will happen?
Because, I mean, when it comes to a place like Mars, like, there's nobody who has direct ownership over this place.
And plus, even if someone disputes with you about claiming it, if you're there, it's going to take them many years and so much money just to like get there to provoke you in the first place. If they even wanted to at that point. Like,
what do you mean by provoke?
Oh yeah, how are we gonna enforce whatever rules we make up down here?
That's what point I was going at. So like, let's say you get news that over there they're having a tyranny or something like that, and like, okay, we're on our way immediately. Next, 4 years later, everybody's dead by the time we get there. That's what I'm trying to say. What if that situation happens?
That's just hypotheticals that probably won't matter if we select the right people to go up there.
Okay. Cool.
I'm pretty sure we just have to select I know it's like crazy, but we have to select perfect people, right?
But okay, so we can go by the perfect people argument, right? But when we talk about like these different nations, these different countries who are also all trying to claim some type of territory on Mars, you have to really look at how this distribution of land would actually work. So would one country just go over there, and whoever the first country is to colonize everything, are they in charge of everything? Or if another space program wanted to go over there, another space program owned by another country wanted to go over there, how would that work? I mean, I think that would definitely cause a lot of discourse, and that would definitely cause a lot of disagreement that would really be hard to actually tackle.
It's not directly after, but it's a little bit related. It's just something I want to put out there before I lost my train of thought. And if you think about it, humans have a nature of revolting and being ecstatic at times. Am I wrong? I mean, even with us, we wanted freedom when in reality, or for taxes, when in reality nowadays we're taxing even more than they did then. I mean, people want to revolt. People want power and all these other things. It's kind of almost human instinct, or it is human instinct to have conflict. It's in our nature. So, what about these, again, bring back to the children, what about these children that actually get born on Mars, get raised on Mars, never been to Earth, but are always being told, oh, Earth this, Earth that. In that case, wouldn't they start getting kind of thoughts of like, oh, it couldn't be some type of development that, oh, why should we look up to these people? Or like, yeah, we can teach them these things, but people always tend to revolt at some point in time. And it's going to be more difficult for people who never actually been to Earth or anything like that to submit. So like colonies like on Earth, how they had to submit to these foreign nations, and some of them didn't. Obviously, they revolted. That's something I want to bring up. So, yeah. Would Mars one day declare independency from Earth? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, like imagine, say, when they revolt, imagine a pot of water boiling over, right? Like, if you say the pot is bottomless, like it never runs out of space, you can always add more water, right? Like, imagine it getting hotter and hotter and hotter, but you keep adding cold water, right? Would it ever boil over? Like, would it... okay, say it's always at 100 degrees Celsius, but that's the temperature of the pot, right? And it's making the water hotter, right? I don't think would it ever really reach boiling... The water, would it ever really boil over if you keep adding cold water? So, say... in Mars, say, like, they develop this new mindset that, wow, why are we looking up to Earth? Why do we care what they say if we're way over here and they're way over there? What if we just regularly send people from Earth that have lived life on Earth, that come from Earth, right? Just every so often, just so that the people, Martians, basically, feel always have a sense of it's homogeneity. You get what I'm saying, right? Like
togetherness.
Yeah, like they still feel attached to us because they never grow that far from us. In terms of
like immigration, immigration.
Like they still know us, and they still know that they're like us. They never will get to the point where they completely boil over.
Okay, with that I disagree because we could look at like there's like a literal direct analogy to this. So you could look at the birth of the U.S. right. Whenever we had people sent over from the UK, right. So originally we were just a colony, an extension of Britain. And for a while, we were under a mercantile system in which, we sent resources back. And then, they processed them. And then we sold them back to us. And after a while, we still identified with this country, right?
Yeah.
But wasn't the reason that we wanted to break off is because the way they were ruling us?
Yes. Yeah, but...
Yeah, if we... in a sense, like, in quotes, rule Mars, I think we could learn from history. I mean, that's why we study it, right? We could learn from history, treat them with the respect that they deserve, and I don't think they'd ever get to the point that they hate us enough to revolt.
I wouldn't say hate us enough to revolt. I would think they would just want to declare their independency.
They would be independent. Well, I think they should be independent.
Well,
like from the get-go.
Do you think... Oh, that's actually what I was going to mention. I was going to get to that.
I don't think our rules should apply. They should come up with their own, but also be very, very homogenous with the people of Earth.
Okay, yeah. I can see that. I actually have...
Like, start them off right and keep them on the right track. I don't think they'll ever... get to the point of complete revolt.
Okay, so you're seeing it more like two companies then. How two companies can trade and can benefit each other overall, right? Two countries.
It'd be a mutual. Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
Value theory of trade.
I can That would incorporate more capitalism, I believe, into that system.
Wait, what? Okay, you had me up until there.
Because if you're proposing trade between planets, or would you think that's just based on actual companies on the planets that switch or like trade off, or do you think that'd be from between countries themselves, like between governments and countries?
Sorry, can you rephrase that?
So if we had so again the two planets. Do you believe there'd be such things as like businesses on like Mars or so to trade off, not services, but like say they had a mining company.
So
or would you think it'd be all governed?
I honestly would think that it would have to be all governed. but under a single branch, because I don't really see how a free market can evolve and actually thrive up there
until they get big enough.
Until they get big enough, even at that point.
Okay.
I don't really see that as being idealistic, especially when it comes to the technological advances that would be required in order to colonize a place like Mars. I think that everything. I'm gonna go back to the argument of automation.
All right.
I think that there would not be a need for this capitalistic system. I think that everything would be already done, and
would you say it'd be paradise?
I wouldn't say it would be
idealistic, maybe.
Like, what would the people up there be doing other than maintenance?
Honestly, I don't even think really anything after everything is all developed.
So wait, do you think Mars would be a long haul stay, or do you think it will be more like a pit stop into leaving our universe?
Leaving the universe or leaving our solar system?
Leaving our solar system. I'm sorry.
I don't think we're gonna be leaving the solar system for a very long time, because I don't know of any other. Oh well, I don't know if
Saturn, or that's still in our.
The moon? Are you getting at the moon?
Yeah, I'm talking about the moon.
What's Jupiter's?
It's Jupiter. Yeah.
You're talking about Titan.
Five,
just
I'm not
sure. Yeah, just Titan. I don't really see that as happening, to be honest. Maybe after a while. I don't see any other space exploration of any other planets, especially within the solar system, because most of them are uninhabitable, such as all the gas giants. Yeah. Anything outside of pretty much Mars is pretty much uninhabitable, just based off its distance from the sun, a lack of energy that's coming from it. When it comes to travel outside of the solar system, I don't really see that as as very viable in this current timeline, at least for a very, very, very long time, because I think that would just require. I mean, maybe if there's some type of technological advancement that allows that to happen, yes, but I am not really even sure how that would work.
The reason I brought that up was because I feel like it's a lot more reasonable to think there'd be peace if this was just a pit stop, or people thought of it as just a pit stop and not just a destination. You know what I mean? Like if
I think it'd thrive more if it was a destination.
Really?
We shouldn't see it as a pit stop.
No, I'm saying because then there's obvious like questions about government and stuff like that. Whenever it's just a pit stop, it's just a part of the journey. You don't really worry about establishing all those things, opposed to if this was something you actually do have to establish it. It could be like a mindset type of thing. That's why I was bringing it up. No, wrong, but
I disagree because I think I don't really see that as viable, because I think
obviously not right now.
I think if we are colonizing Mars, I think that would eventually lead to some type of permanent residence for the people there. Maybe sometime down the line, if there's something that is happening with Mars that would cause us to leave again, maybe. But until then, I don't really see that happening.
Okay. I definitely don't see it as a pit stop. It's gonna be permanent.
Oh no, I did see permanent with it. I'm just saying, if we campaigned it as first stop Mars, next stop the universe, or something like that.
Way into the future, or right now?
Definitely not right now. Are you kidding me? We're not even on Mars yet. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like far, far into the future. I feel like that can give it more of a bright light to it. You know what I mean? Like there's more to achieve. Like people aren't gonna be just settled there. Like it's like with the frontier, with the people who were initially settling in the United States. Like people would say, why are we great? It's because we have the frontier. Nobody else in the world has the frontier. We have the capability to expand and make a new life.
Well, when you say nobody in the world has the frontier, I think that is kind of
it's a metaphor I got from my history 2 class.
So when you say nobody in the world has this, then I kind of think that leads back to an idea of certain ownership of, and then that kind of turns into a tribalistic argument in which, when you kind of just isolate these different groups of people, and I think that can definitely cause tension. But
it causes separation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, basically, what I'm trying to get from that point is that it gave people a purpose. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When people have a purpose, like you said earlier about like colonizing Mars, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
When people see that there's more to do in the future, they're more optimistic, and I feel like that can be better for society.
Oh yeah, I
Right.
definitely agree.
If we go more with that mindset, opposed to
Yeah, that's why I very much disagree with the whole idea of a pit stop. Because that'd be very demeaning, very degrading to like
Okay.
to the people setting up shop there.
All right. Well,
I can see that actually.
I think that was a pretty good discussion on Mars. Well, signing off. I'm Dustin.
Coconut.
All right. My name is Edwin.
Alexa, play Hose Mad.
All right. Have a good day and enjoy yourself, I guess.
Hose mad. Hose mad.
Alexa,
Hose mad.
play
Cut it
Hose
off.
Mad.
3, 2, 1.